What up, 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 what up again and again and again and again. I say what up. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Ron and Don. We back in the building as always with another ep. We about to hit you in the head with Brooklyn Bears Ball Sports Talk Show. Listen, we got so much to talk about. The playoffs are right here, guys. It's right here. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. And I know y'all excited as we are. But listen, before we get into all this good sports talk and culture talk, we need you to do us a favor. We need you to smash that like button. We need you to comment. We need you to share. Facebook, YouTube. You know how we do. Listen, we appreciate y'all out there. Y'all been really supporting us, putting it down for us. You know what I'm saying? And so we really appreciate that. So please don't forget to subscribe. All right, to this awesome sports show. We doing our thing. Two boys from Brooklyn. Big D, what's going on with you, bro?
Oh man, it's all good. Brooklyn locked up the 6th seed finally. So we got 76ers. We got the 76ers going. I'm excited about that. But we got a lot to discuss, man. Let's get into it. All right, so let's talk about a little bit of NBA. We're not going to really discuss the Lakers beating up on a team that none of their starters got involved in the game. Everybody sat. They pretty much was like, "Oh, we good on the Lakers." So beating up on the Suns, it's not impressive. Let's talk about the Lakers and the Clippers, the game that they really, really needed. Okay, that's the game that was really going to determine, because right now they're in a cat fight with, I shouldn't say cat fight, but they're in a fight with the Warriors, right? Because they're not going to see the Clippers for the 6th seed, right? And that would avoid the play-in. But ultimately, what'd they do? They had the Clippers, no Paul George, right? So it's just Kawhi and some other players. Now their team is deep. They have a great coach in Ty Lue, but pretty much the Lakers at full strength, right? This Laker team that, according to one of us, is going all the way to the Western Conference Finals, had an opportunity, a golden opportunity to beat the Clippers. And what do the Lakers do? What does LeBron do, the face of the league? 3 points in the first half. 3 points, 4 turnovers. One of us said that Anthony Davis was, this man, every time he goes, that man could drop 30. It's nothing for him. I had brought up the consistency issue. I brought up the fact that he wasn't aggressive when he needed to. There is no way that Austin Reeves should be scoring more points. I don't care if they quadruple Anthony Davis. There is no way that Austin Reeves should have more points than Anthony Davis. There's no reason for him to take more shots than Anthony Davis. If he's a dominant big man and he is this generational player and you hold him in such high regard, there's no reason for him to, in the last games where it was close, or that where you squeaked out some victories or lost, he had 17 points. He was having 17 and 14. He's had a high rebounds, but hey, listen, if you're that tall, rebounds is not an impressive thing, right? But ultimately, LeBron has 3 points in the first half. Second half, the game was already out of line. I mean, it was over. Now, granted, the Clippers shot amazing. Everybody was hitting everything. So LeBron has a unbelievable second half. He scores 30 points in the second half. After the game was pretty much done, LeBron, being the drama king that he is, he goes to the sideline and immediately his shoe has to be cut off. Like, listen, was your foot hurting when you was only put up 3 points? Now, after you have this miraculous second half for no reason, you still lose to the Clippers. And Kawhi, yes, LeBron balled out. He handled Kawhi. Kawhi tried to cover him to the best of his ability, but who can stop LeBron if he plays his game? The problem is Anthony Davis if he's not aggressive, you guys have no shot. What do you say?
I say that your take made no sense. It was absolutely hypocrisy on every form of the word. Listen, let me explain something to you, America. Number one, all right, AD, we know how he's been balling without his level of play in this past month or so. The Lakers are not even where we are right now, right? We know that. So Don wants to say, oh, AD needs to be this, needs to be more aggressive. How does he only get 17 points? Don just expects, like, this is what Don wants to do. When a player is playing great, like how AD has been playing in this past month or so, and he gets only 17 points, or he has a game or so where he averages, or he just gets under 20 points, all of a sudden, now Lakers could win or lose, but it's like, oh, what happened, AD? What did he not do? And why is he not aggressive? First of all, he took more shots than Austin Reeves in that game. He took 14 attempts. Reeves took 11. I guess D wants to, I don't know, maybe he watched a lot of cartoons growing up or something like that. I don't know. Maybe he wants AD to fly over people and fly over, like, quadruple team. And it just expects him to just have wings and just fly around the stadium and then come down into the hoop with his whole body and score. Like, what can he do if teams have decided, which rightfully so, which is a good defensive strategy, what teams should do, right? You double team or even triple team the guy that clearly the Lakers have been riding with and whose back we've been riding on. So that's what they do. So what is AD supposed to do? Like any good big or any superstar player would do when they get double teamed. You pass the ball to your teammates, okay? The problem with that game with the Clippers, number one, our bench played bad. Schroeder was only 1 of 6 in that game. He did not score well, and we needed production off the bench. Powell just completely killed us. They shot very well. In the Lakers, though, our defense has drastically improved since the trade and we brought these new pieces in, we still, I feel, struggle a little bit in the perimeter defense. So they was getting a lot of open shots and they were knocking them down. And Powell definitely, he was the difference maker in that game. Now, the game wasn't a blowout in the second half. Lakers went on a 19-3 run in that third quarter. We actually cut the lead down into double digits. Twice we cut that lead down after they were up by more than 20 on 2 occasions in that game, and we cut the lead down to 7. So the Lakers, our defense brought us back into the game. We played very well. Look, the Clippers, they're okay. Not a great team. Not having Paul George, definitely you want to take advantage of that. No question about it. A game we should have won. A game we needed to win, at least to solidify or get very close to solidifying that 6th seed so we can avoid the play-in. But it is what it is. It didn't happen. LeBron rocked out. He did his thing in the second half. I'm not really concerned about the Clippers per se, again, going into the playoffs, because for some reason, they're just a team that is going to foil. To me, they're your version of the Philadelphia 76ers in the East. Either they're going to get hurt, Doc Rivers is not going to coach right or do something that's going to hurt this team, and the Clippers just they just don't prevail. They don't. And good team, but in Kawhi, to me, is not that player that he used to be anymore. So I'm not really so much concerned about that. But yes, it was a bad loss. The Lakers should have won that game again without Paul George, who wanted to take advantage and capitalize without one of the premier scorers and a legit bona fide superstar in the league not playing in the game. But we didn't get it. And AD, and again, I keep saying to Don, AD is balling his brains out. But what is he supposed to do if they're double teaming him? There's nothing he can do. Now, the only problem that I hate with AD is I think he needs to get into his move a lot quicker before the double team comes. And Don and I talk about sometimes AD's lack of aggression and how he doesn't take over when he should or when we feel he should at certain points in the game. And I agree. It's the same thing that's been a knock on LeBron for all his career. Same way. I think that's more just a personality thing. I don't think that's ever going to change if it hasn't changed now. I just think it just depends. AD just for some reason, 1 minute he could be ferociously good and there's other minutes where he could just be really good without necessarily having to be so aggressive. So it just depends on the team, how they're playing, who they're playing against, who's he's matched up with down low. It just all depends, all right? And so it's not really a big deal, all right? And LeBron, I'll say this, after the game, talking about the back-to-back, and he kind of complained about that. Look, no excuses. I'm not going to defend LeBron in that regard. Listen, it doesn't matter. You got to win. You still scored 33 points. You didn't look winded, okay? And then the Lakers looked a little, obviously we looked tight. We went into an overtime game against Utah the night before, which we should have avoided. That was no sense. The Lakers are up by 8 points with a minute left. And I've been saying consistently on this show how I'm still concerned how the Lakers close games out. I don't like the way we close games out. We don't necessarily finish teams the way we really should. Utah should have never have gotten back into that game. So you added more wear and tear on yourself, knowing you got another game to play. Though it's back at home, technically, but still, it's another night of basketball you got to play. Clippers been rested since Sunday. They hadn't played, so they were well rested. They came in, but that's no excuse. We should have won the game. Bad loss for us. But at the end of the day, I'm not worried. I mean, the Lakers, we're going to be fine. Whether if it's a play-in or we do solidify the 6th seed, we're going to be fine. We're going to get in the playoffs. For the Lakers, let me say this to you, America, because we're going to talk about the Nets as well, okay? We have 17 banners, okay? The Brooklyn Nets have division banners. I don't even know people even pay attention to divisions anymore, right? Because it's all about conferences and standings. Nobody cares about an Atlantic Division title. Brooklyn has no titles. So when they win the 6th seed, which they clinch, right? It's a parade. They get ready to march down Flatbush Avenue real soon. They're going to get excited because they're not used to winning anything. For us, it's about just getting into the dance. That's all. Once we get into the playoffs, now because that's what championship pedigree mindsets is all about. Not a 6th seed, okay? It means nothing, all right? And had the Lakers, I'll say this before I throw it back to you, Don, and as we all know, the only problem with the Lakers at the end of the day, even with the Westbrook when he was on our team, was health. And the Lakers were at least able to stay healthy, they would not have even been in this position. We would have clearly been somewhere around the 5th seed, 4th seed, not playing for no play and no nothing, okay? The health issues has always been the problem for the Lakers, and that's why we are where we are. It's not because they can't outball anybody. We got just as many good players and the best duo in the league than anybody else if we were able to stay healthy, and that's been the problem. But it's okay. We lost to the Clippers. It's cool. Clippers ain't going nowhere anyway, so nobody worrying about them. So, yeah, but that's it. That's all I got. That's all I got.
That was enough. Listen, what can a big man do if he's double teamed? If you're a skilled big man, you foul the team out. You aggressively get.
How if you're getting double teamed? When you get the ball in the block, they're coming at they're throwing resources at you.
Wait a minute. They're throwing it after. They're throwing it after. You're not double teamed. They're not preventing the ball from going in AD's hands.
No, they're not.
AD is just slow to make his move. So what you do is, if you're a skilled big man, you said top 2 duo, right? You make your move. Either you score or they foul you, right? And then you go to the line and you hit your free throws, right?
Right, but D, but when you go into your move quick, you act like you're going to be able to take the ball, put it on the floor. And no, when you get the ball, it depending upon where
you don't have to put it on the floor.
Right, but D, he can't. He's not. Even though AD does have a good mid range, right? But ideally, you don't. What you want him to, if anything. That's what you hope the double team pressure will do. Keep him isolated to one particular kind of shot, which is not going to be highly effective if he can't get down low. So if you're the Lakers, what you really should be doing is try to position AD a little bit further into the paint. So at least he's closer to the basket. But but that's a strategy there with the Lakers or whatever have you. But the truth of the matter is, but even still, depending upon where the double team, and AD has to read where that double team is coming from. If he has to get the ball and quickly go into a move, and that becomes the shot that he predominantly has to make in a game because of the double team coming, depending upon which angle, that's not going to be ideal. He's not going to be able to score a lot of points that way. And that's
I'm not saying that has to be his primary shot, but what you do is you keep the defense off balance by going into your move quick. And then sometimes when they collapse on you, you hit someone and they the open man who can, hopefully hit the wide open shot. I think Anthony Davis, it all boils down to his aggression. I know you brought up a whole cartoons and all this latchkey kid, all of the different things. That's all well and good.
Yeah.
Ultimately, what I said was Anthony Davis, and we're going to play a clip. Anthony Davis scoring in the high 30s is a surprise. You said it wasn't a surprise because he can that's what he does. And I'm saying the 17-point, 14 rebound or 11 rebound AD is more consistent with what he is than the 38, the 35,
you
and
trying
17.
to say 17 points is more consistent to 8? Donald, he's a 24-point scorer for his career, and he's averaging 28 for the year this year alone with only 52 games. So how is 17? If he gets a game for 17 points, you're saying that's the real AD?
Okay, so what we're going to see, right? Because this is the beauty of
things. Play the video, and then I'm gonna show y'all. I'm gonna dissect the video for America so they could see what you were trying to do here.
Can he play if he's injured?
Right, but what I'm saying is you're saying Anthony, right, you opened up this block right here by saying how good Anthony Davis is playing, right? And I'm saying, why should we be surprised by Davis's play?
It's the knock on him is not, he's dropping 38 with consistency. That is, you expect him to drop 38 every game?
But D,
oh my god, yo, listen.
Anthony Davis is do you want to look at his stats? I mean, should we be looking at his stats for his career even? Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on. Are you
now all of a sudden you're championing Anthony Davis like, yo, I knew he could do it. Like, yo, this is all.
But he has that
you
ability
have always
to play that way.
Ability. I get it.
He has.
But if you're injured and inconsistent, Okay, so let me just quickly say this before you try to explain your way out of it.
My camera didn't look good on there, though. I got to find out what's going on with my camera.
We were talking about Anthony Davis consistently. He was playing at a very high level prior to LeBron coming back. And he, put the team on his back in order for them to even be where they're at now. Given, LeBron was injured, a lot of the scoring responsibility was on Anthony Davis. He was playing at a very, very high level. Since LeBron has been back, someone said that there would be an adjustment. I didn't expect the adjustment to also include Anthony Davis. I thought it would include, Austin Reeves. I thought it would include, D'Lo a little bit. Everybody would have to kind of change their game because LeBron is going to have the ball in his hands a lot more. Long story short, since you made that declaration that that's what he does, right? Because that's, if everyone listened in, when I said, do you expect him to do that consistently? You said, yeah, that's what he does. He hasn't averaged over 20. He hasn't scored over 20 since we did that show. One game you won, one game you lost. And the game that you lost was the Clippers game. He got outplayed by Zubac. He actually had more points and more rebounds than Anthony Davis. There is no excuse for that. You can make all the excuses you want, but there's no excuse for Zubac outplaying Anthony Davis. What do you say?
D, first of all, when I said D, he has the ability to play at a high level, I was not referring to his scoring average. You were referring to his scoring average. I'm talking about him playing at the level in which he was playing with great consistency and scoring a lot of points. His last 10 games, he's averaging 26 points in his last 10 games with 13 rebounds, okay? So if you get...
What is he averaging since you made that statement? Since we had that with the last... tell me what he's done in the last 4 games.
Okay, I'll tell
because
you what.
10 games, LeBron hasn't been back for 10 games. So since LeBron has been back, tell me what he's done.
All right, give me a minute here to pull. Let me pull up in his recent games. Okay, so he had 14 last night. He had 17 against the Clippers. Okay,
impressive.
He had 21 against Utah, and he had 40 against Houston, and he had 38 against Minnesota, against their big, which is Gobert, which is a great player. Okay, Zubac's having a great game. Again, D, you got to understand. You got to look at the style of play, the context of the game in terms of flow and certain dynamics that will cause certain games to go a certain way. The NBA is not the way where it's a cookie cutter. You got a lot of teams that he could shoot really well. Powell was playing really well. They was getting a lot of open threes. Lakers had to devote resources out there to the outside. And so again, nobody's saying Zubac is, I'm not saying that you're saying this, but Zubac, okay, he had a good game, but he is no Anthony Davis will destroy him in a 7-game series. Trust and believe that. The reality is that, again, depending upon how the game is flowing, especially if the Lakers are not getting in their pick and rolls, that's another way to avert from the double teams too. They weren't able to get in that. And then when you're behind a lot of points, what tends to happen? Everybody wants to jack up threes. They want to try to get the quick scores. So you're not necessarily going into AD like that. AD is more in some ways like that running back in the fourth quarter, who you begin to run the rock with, you pound, get the defense tired because you're up by points and you want to kind of go ahead and close down the house. That's what AD in a lot of ways will do. If you're down by If you're down by 25 points, you're not going into AD like that. You're going to be looking for the open. You're going to be looking for more threes to shoot at that point and getting quicker scores. So I'm saying it all depends on the dynamics. You're talking, so because he had two
Does that
games,
ever happen with Giannis? Does that
Giannis,
happen?
You mean to tell me Giannis has never had a game under 20 points?
No, of course he has.
All right.
But does that happen to Giannis where Giannis is relegated to a running back to try to run out the clock? Or is he a focal point of the offense? You said that you have the top duo, right? Did you say that?
I said one of the top duos in the league. I didn't say we were the top.
Okay.
We got one of the top
so
duos
you have one of the top duos. Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the top duos in the league, and one of your players you're saying is just, a glue factory running back to just run out the clock.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if we're down by 25 points, D, just like if we're down by, if Milwaukee's down by 25 points, you think they're going into the post to Giannis? If depending upon time in the game, if it's the middle of the third quarter, you got to make a run. You need some stops. You got to score quickly.
LeBron scored 30 in the second half. Did he not?
Right, but LeBron can control the ball. He can create his own shots from end to end. So that's a different type of play.
So then Anthony Davis, you're saying Anthony Davis's game is limited because he can't.
Oh my goodness!
You said the reason why LeBron can score 30 points is because he can create his own shot. Can Anthony Davis create his own shot, being the second part of a good duo?
But D, what you're not? But D, I can't believe I got to explain this to you, Donald. There's a difference in the way the games are played and the way LeBron and AD have to play. Just like Giannis. Giannis has to still get the ball to him. Yes, he can go from court to court. AD got a little bit of a handle, but he can't play that way consistently because that's not his game. He's still got to get the ball in position. He's a big man. He's not a big man that's going to go up and down the court. LeBron
is he a big man? Is he a big man? The guy that doesn't want to play center? Is he a big man? Or is he?
He's a forward, but he's technically
okay. He's a forward. And what is Giannis? What is Giannis?
Giannis is a four. Well, Lopez is a five that's shooting threes. So what does that do?
We're not putting Lopez in that conversation.
Dynamics, but when you're talking about dynamics, why would Giannis have to play the four? Or why in some situations he would have to play the five? Again, it depends on the dynamics because that's the way the game is played. Back in the 80s and 90s, centers were centers no matter what was going on. Shaq played in the middle no matter what. It didn't matter. Kareem was in the middle. Paris was in the middle.
We're talking about Anthony Davis. We're talking about if he's the point that I have brought to the table is Anthony Davis is not the player that you think he is. You said
what player is that?
He's a consistent. You said he's a consistent, dominant player, and we shouldn't be surprised by his dominance.
No, we should not be.
But if he's dominant, then he can't. Right. There is not aspects of his game that he should be shut out. Or now we have an excuse. Oh, because he got double teamed. If you're dominant, you can't be shut down.
That's not true. D, you mean to tell me there's not been games where Michael Jordan was neutralized? For most of his career, he dominated. But you mean to tell me there weren't games? Go back to the 93 championship game with Gary Payton. And Payton neutralized.
You pulling one Jordan. Game out? Are we comparing Anthony?
I'm talking about a series. There are times when great players get neutralized for a game, but you're only talking 2 games. Because he didn't score 38 points against Phoenix in the Clippers.
No.
He's not great.
That's not what I'm talking about.
So what are you saying?
I'm talking about. We said the biggest. What are the knocks on Anthony Davis? One is injuries. The other is consistency. You're saying
consistency how?
I had asked the question. The question was Anthony Davis scoring 38 points. Is that something that you expect all the time? And you said, I was talking about his play, not the scoring. I'm talking about but you can't now.
You're about averaging the points.
I said Anthony Davis scoring 38 points with consistency. That is something that is surprising. Do you expect that to continue? And you said, yes, that's what he does. Don't try to change the narrative.
That's what I was saying.
But if he's now putting up 17 and 21 and 14, that's not 38 points.
No, it's not. But D, that doesn't. But his average has been 26 the last 10 games. That 14 and 17 don't change his average much. Now, if he starts dropping in that, then that's different. But that's not enough to take off his average. He's still.
So the beautiful part of this.
I'm talking about the dominance of his play. So here's probably what happened. You mentioned the point. When I was listening to you say about can he still maintain that, or is it a shock that he's playing that way? I'm talking about his dominance. I wasn't referring to the scoring, the average of his score, because nobody can average 30. Nobody.
I didn't say average. I didn't say average. I didn't say average. But if you didn't blink an eye when I specifically gave how he had been playing. He had a string of games where he was 35, 17, 38 and 12, and he had some really impressive games. 40 points and I don't know what, 40 and 17. He had some impressive games. So I asked you because we both agree that the Lakers have no chance if Anthony Davis is sub 25 a game. Do you agree? Do you agree saying that? Do you remember agreeing with me on that?
Yeah, I do agree with you there. I do.
Okay.
I do agree with
so
you there.
If he's dropping 17 and 14 and 21, is that below 25 points a game?
But yes, but
the Clippers game was an important game.
But that was okay. So that's one game. That's one. You can't. No way.
I'm not putting it all on one game. I'm not putting it.
That's what you're doing because that's only one game that he averaged. He got only 17 points in that one game, and he only took 14 shots. But they doubled down on him.
That's his problem. He didn't take 14 shots.
But what I'm saying, right? No, but D again. But you got to put it in context. Why is it only 14 points? If we're not playing defense in that game and we're down by 25 points, you're not going to throw into AD. You're going to try to get Beasley some threes. You're going to try to get Reese some threes. D'Lo's going to shoot threes. You're going to have to now spread the floor. You're going to have to run more, and you're going to have to be able to get quicker shots. So you don't have time to go through the methodical process of AD all the time, and that's just his game. But you can't do it. You're
trying to make it like he's a traditional big man. That the game has to slow down. He gets it. He has to get in the block. That's not him.
No, it is him because he's a skilled player that can still shoot from various parts of the floor. But he's not a player. But again, if you're down by 25, D, he's not that kind of player. Though he's skilled.
When you guys had Dwight Howard, right? What did Anthony Davis want to play? Or did you have Dwight Howard or Andre Drummond?
We had Howard. We have McGee that played center.
Remember that Anthony Davis was adamant that he did not want to play the 5.
Right. So what's
so he wants to. If he didn't want to play the 5, he didn't want to be in that tradition. He didn't want to bang with the big men like Embiid and those more traditional centers. And I don't even consider Embiid a traditional center.
Definitely not, because
so he's playing out on the wing. So why are you now giving him an excuse that going through Anthony Davis, it has to be more of a 80s type of style of basketball? It doesn't have to be.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is what dictates the style of play is what's going on in the dynamics of the game. Again, the Clippers were blowing us out by 25. So AD.
But if you have two of the top 10 players, they should have never been blowing you out by 25. That's what I say.
So you mean to say KD and Kyrie never got blown out before in the 2 games they played
They're
together?
not even teammates anymore. We're not talking about them. We're talking about one of the best duos.
Like nobody can lose a game, D, or have a bad. That's one game. The man has scored all through the month of March. He's averaged 28 points.
I got him, y'all. I got him. He's standing 50, up. Because when the show started, 15, both of our heads were the same level. Now, all of a sudden, he's 6 feet. Right, exactly. I'm talking to his beard. That's perfect. That's right. I know I got him on the ropes.
No, because you know what? Let me tell you something with America, with Donald trying to do. Donald wants to give you this blanket argument as if, and he wants to act like he doesn't know no basketball at all. Like I
just want to know if Anthony Davis is a dominant player. That's all I want to know.
If a play, he is so you don't think AD is a dominant player?
I do. But do you think he is?
That's what you've been.
You said it's nothing. 38 points. He can drop that in his sleep.
Donald, he can drop 38 points, but can he average 38 points for over what?
Who said average?
No.
Who said average? Who said average?
You say he can't. D, he dropped 38 back to back against Minnesota and Chicago. Then he had 37 against KC on March 24th. Then he had another 27 against Phoenix earlier for 20 back on March 22nd. Okay, a game that we won, and we beat Phoenix with Devin Booker there. Okay, and then he had 15
no
against
Kevin Durant,
Orlando,
but who cares about that?
26 points against Dallas, 35 against New Orleans, 17 he had against the Knicks. That was in a loss, and he only had 8 in that game. I don't know what that was against Toronto, so that was a bad game AD had in that game. He didn't do. Well, matter of fact, he didn't even play in it. Yeah, he only took 7 shots. I think he got hurt in that. No, he had 33 minutes, so he played the game. I don't know what happened. I can't recall the dynamics of that game. Then he had 30 and 39 and 38 prior to that game against Memphis, Golden State, and Minnesota. 3 good teams, okay? And they won 2 of those 3 games. AD is a baller, D, and AD is very good at what he does. The only knock on AD is 2 things. He's not healthy, and sometimes he is not aggressive when he probably should be at certain times.
So why are we arguing about that? I agree with those.
That doesn't mean he's still not balling, though. He's still he could be aggressively great, or he could just be an AD that can score points without even blinking and without necessarily having to be aggressive, especially if the other guys are playing well. I mean, he not got to really do it all. I mean, if you got a mismatch on some guys that the other guys can take, why not take advantage of that? I mean,
look at your team. Look at your team the way it's constructed. Yes. How many players on your team really are going to be create a mismatch on offensive?
D'Lo can create. Shooter can create. Those guys
a mismatch against who?
They can against slower guards, and they can guys that they could easily get to the hole. D'Lo, you might have the defense have to draw out because he can shoot. He can shoot threes. He has a range. So some players got to come out. So those are mismatches. It's not about how you and could just will and deal on somebody, but it's your style of play. It makes the defense now have to play another what kind of way, depending upon what that is. And so you got Beasley, you got shooters out there. That's going to create space.
You got Vanderbilt hitting the corner threes, right?
The corner threes, your high percentage 3. It's not a 3. They leave him open for it, but occasionally he'll make them. But that's not how you want to live. It's not what the Lakers should be doing. They should be relying on that. You know what I'm saying?
And I'll say this, and then we can move on. The beautiful thing about this is the playoffs is about, the play-in. Let's start there. You guys play, looks like you guys are going to be playing next week. So you're 11 through the 14th.
Hey, it's okay.
Play-in.
We don't care. We're going to get into play. We get into play and we beat. We're going to get the 7th seed and then let the 8, 9, and 10 figure it out. It's all good. We're going to beat them. We're going to win. Ain't no problem. I ain't worried about it. We're going to be fine. Lakers are going to be fine.
Okay. So we'll see how all that, and we'll see what happens. Remember this show, right? That we're talking about what Anthony Davis will and will not do, right? Because this play-in game is win or go home, right? No, actually it's not. Because you can lose this game and then play another game. So but more often than not, it would behoove you guys. I'll use one of my father's words. It would behoove you to do it early, right? So you get more rest. You have a 38-year-old superstar. You have Anthony Davis, who you said, he has issues sometimes, the health. Like I said, LeBron, after scoring 30 points, he ran to the sideline and sat after he knew the game was over, and those 30 points. And I saw them. They physically cut his shoe off. They cut his shoe off.
I mean, he does have a bad foot. He's still playing hurt though, D. I mean, he is hurt.
You're gonna drop 30 and a half, and you're gonna say that sounds.
He hurt. He still can't be. His foot miraculously healed because he dropped 30 points? He's a player that plays because that's what greatness.
So that was just adrenaline.
You don't.
That was just adrenaline. That was just the adrenaline.
No, it's the greatness of LeBron, but he should still be hurt. What? So he can't get his foot looked at? I mean,
he had to get his shoe cut off.
Well, maybe.
Nah, I'm joking. They didn't cut his shoe off, but that's the level of drama that LeBron brings. After he drops 30, he has to run to the sideline and get his shoe cut off.
Drama queen at times. I agree. He over. He can be that way. He is. But he's still LeBron and he's still great. I bet you the Nets wish they could have him. Well, let's see what Mikal Bridges do. Let's talk about him. Okay. Good player, not a star yet.
That is a perfect way to segue into the Brooklyn Nets,
Let's talk about
who successfully they're handling business. Unlike Anthony Davis, who wants to drop points. Yeah.
So David's not handling business.
Well, they should have beat the Clippers, right?
So much
Beating the Clippers, playing at a high level, solidifying the 6th seed. That's handling business. Brooklyn Nets. Let's go on to the Brooklyn Nets, who locked down the 6th seed. Miami. They have pretty much handled Miami. Miami is going to be in the play-in. Brooklyn Nets, 6th seed. They will. I mean, I don't think there'll be an issue, but they're ultimately playing the 76ers. So that is the actual game and series that I wanted to see.
Yes.
I give us, as I've said before, a 40% chance, which when you have a team of good players, stars, potential superstars, or soon to be budding superstars, I think that is a high percentage going up against a league MVP, arguably someone who might be the MVP this season, reigning scoring leader. I think he might be the scoring leader again. It's between him and Giannis, I think, or it's close. So Embiid might be a 2-time scoring leader, potentially a first-time MVP. Giving them 40% chance to win the series, I think is high. I think Brooklyn has been handling business. It seems like they have a kind of a pinpoint focus. I don't think that now that they have locked in that seed, I think that they're going to continue to play. Jacques Vaughn has been creating some lineups, checking out, and kind of seeing what works. Our bench is pretty deep, so players are getting some time. I'm excited. I think it should be a good series. I don't think we'll win. And honestly, we shouldn't beat Philly, but I think it's going to be more competitive than what people automatically think. What do you say?
No, I think Philly should win that series. They really should. If they play the way they should play and play like a top Eastern Conference team, that which they are, they should win that series. But again, Brooklyn can definitely create problems. I don't think that's a team you really may want to see. The thing with Brooklyn is you don't really know, what you're going to get, because y'all actually have played some really bad competition in a lot of these last games. I'm looking at Atlanta, Houston, Orlando, but the teams like when you did beat Miami, you beat them pretty handily, obviously. Okay. But then you lost back-to-back games to Cleveland. You lost to Denver. You lost to Sacramento. You lost to OKC, which is, again, a team you probably should have beaten, right? But so it's kind of inconsistent with Brooklyn. You don't know. Some games they'll win that you don't think they would win. And then there's games that they lose that, games that they lose and you're like, wow, that came unexpectedly. So I think with Brooklyn, you just don't know what you're going to get. They're not really consistent with the level of competition. Sometimes they'll either play down or play up, but it seems to be against the better teams you guys are not prevailing against. So it's 7 games against Philly. Yeah, can you beat them on a night or two? I think you can, but I still think Philly will win in 5. Unless you talk about, Embiid, having some issues with his, dietary tract or whatever, his bowel movement.
In 5 games?
Yeah, I think Philly's going to beat y'all in 5.
Okay.
Yeah. If Philly's healthy, rocking, maxing them boys, and if what you call it is wheeling and dishing, Harden, yeah, I know he was hurt, and I know, obviously look, at this point in time, guys is resting. No real need to play guys like this. They're gonna come in that first round. And I think Philly, because there's so much pressure to win. Brooklyn has nothing to lose, and those are the dangerous type of teams to play, the teams that don't have nothing to lose. But I do think they'll take care of business. I think they'll beat y'all in 5. I do. Yeah, I think they'll beat y'all in 5. I don't think yeah. But it'll be close games. The games will be competitive. I don't think they're going to wipe y'all off the floor in each of these games that they will win, but I do think they'll prevail in 5.
Okay. Well, that's cool. I think we'll at least go 6 games, but we'll see what happens.
It's a good series. It's going to be a really good series.
Time will tell. Well, that's good. Okay, so we don't have to, unlike the Lakers and that whole thing, we don't have to talk long about that because Brooklyn is solidified in the playoffs.
Yeah, I know they're having a parade.
We spent more time talking about teams that are fringe teams. that are still waiting and hoping and praying that teams lose and players are rested in order for them to finally solidify their seeding. But
Let me
it's
ask you a
cool.
question. Let me ask you a question, D. When the playoffs start, who's going to go further in the playoffs, the Lakers or the Nets?
I think we'll
be honest and be honest.
I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be honest about this.
Very honest.
We're going to both. I'm going to think about this really deeply. We're both going to be exiting at the same time.
Oh, so we're done. So one and done. That's it. One round and we out. Is that how that's gonna work? Yeah.
Yeah. Because if you think, well, it doesn't depend because the 6th seed is locked up. So the Warriors, who by the way, Mike Brown was like, Steve Kerr, I got you. I'm gonna rest all my players because what I could do is play all my players. We know that you have a terrible road record. They played in Sacramento yesterday. Most likely chances that they could lose and we get the Lakers. But, and then force the Warriors to go into the play-in. But, hey, let me rest all my players. Suns rested their players too, but I don't think that was a wink. I got you. But long story short, I think that the 7th seed, who you're pretty confident that the Lakers will get, will play Memphis. Memphis will send you guys home. I don't care. Now, I care less about the maturity issue. If they're healthy, their team is way deeper than your team. Way deeper.
But we got a lot of depth on our team. And Mo Bamba is coming back too. So
Mo Bamba?
Mo Bamba is a
La Bamba?
I don't care. La Bamba. La Bamba.
Listen.
He can shoot threes. He could rebound.
Lou Diamond Phillips could be your point guard. It does not matter. You guys, what are you going to do with Jared Jackson?
Jared can ball. He's definitely a beast. He can ball.
Because Anthony Davis, who you said is,
they're going to see that defense, though, and they're going to have to stop us as well.
Well, Jared Jackson is I think he's up for the Defensive Player of the Year. He averages, I think, over 2 blocks a game. So that whole Anthony Davis, slow it. You better slow it down. Because if you try to run and gun with Memphis, they're going to run you guys out of the gym.
Not true. We have a lot of young legs, and we can run. The Lakers can run. We get a lot of our points off transition. The Lakers can run, and we play really good defense. See, what people don't realize is this, D, is
he means me. What I don't realize, but go ahead.
What you don't realize,
just say
what
me.
you don't realize is that playoff basketball, and not that Memphis doesn't have some experience, they do, but they're still an immature team. They're well coached. A good team. You got, of course, Ja, no doubt. Brooks, Jackson, no question. They're a good team. They'll be a tough out, no question about it. They are the favorites going into that series against the Lakers, no doubt about it. But again, when you talk about experience, you talk about pace, you talk about adjustments, and the only thing that scares me in that game, because I think the Lakers can beat Memphis, I really do. The only thing I feel, and I'll say this real quick, that I feel I'm a little nervous with is how Ham is going. Now, Ham does have championship experience as an assistant coach, but at the end, and he's played and he won a chip as a player. But the thing is that I'm just curious to see how he's going to have to make his adjustments in this playoff atmosphere as a head coach. That's my only concern. So he's going to need a lot of help from LeBron and guys like that to kind of help him do that. But trust me, and AD will not be stopped. Okay, Jaren Jackson's good, but he ain't stopping AD. Not if AD is cooking. He's not stopping AD. I don't care what you say. And he's going to have to come out.
So wait. You heard that, right? If AD is cooking.
If AD is
cooking. The fact that you say if AD is cooking is the problem. That's the problem that I've been talking. Why is it if? It's playoff basketball. Well, why is it if AD is cooking?
That statement I made actually doesn't even make any sense, because if I'm saying that he's not going to stop AD if AD is cooking, well, obviously AD has to be cooking if he's not going to be able to stop him.
Well, you made the statement, not me.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That statement don't even make sense. So for you to try to make an argument out of it, no, there's no argument there. There's no argument you can make there, because actually the statement, clearly he has to be cooking for them for Jaren Jackson not to be able to stop him.
Okay.
So let me just rephrase.
I
It's
hope they get Memphis in the first round.
Hey, listen, we most likely we don't get the 6, we're gonna get the 7 because we win in our first game in the play.
Because the 6, you're not getting the 6, but you would rather play Sacramento, who is all offense, no defense. Because
Sacramento has a pretty good defense, though. Their defense is pretty good. They do have a
they don't.
Yeah, from what I understand, they have a pretty good defense. Let me pull. Let me see.
No, their defense is not good, actually. They're all offense. They average 120 a game, but their defense is not good at all. Where are they defensively in comparison to Memphis?
Let me see. Sacramento Kings. No, you're right. I stand corrected. Yeah, you're right. My apologies. I stand corrected. Yeah, they're 26 in the league in defense.
Yeah, they put up points.
Yeah.
Aaron Fox and Sabonis and all they can drop points.
Oh, no, they can definitely drop points. I know they can score. No, I definitely know they can score. No, you're right. Okay. No, I stand corrected. Yeah, my fault.
So I think that would have been a better path for the Lakers. That's why that Clippers game was so important. Because not only solidifying the 6th seed gives you a week's rest also.
No, you're right. Listen, D, I'm not going to undermine the importance of that loss. I'm not. You're right on that. I definitely agree. I'll get the point about the whole AD thing, but the loss in general, the overall outcome of that game was bad. That was a game we needed to win, especially without Paul George playing. We needed to win that game. And so I agree. It had huge ramifications, no question. So now we just got to take a harder path. That's all. It's a harder path into the playoffs. That's all. It is what it is. Perseverance. I mean, hey, it's where it's at. But we'll get there.
That's what champions are made of, right?
That's what when you got banners, championship banners, that is. Not Flatbush championship.
Beautiful. That's all good. It's all good. Okay, real quick, let's talk about Jalen Rose. Jalen Rose brought up the fact that talking about Caitlin Clark and also Angel Reese doing this whole gesture, the John Cena, you can't see me. Well, John Cena a couple of years ago, I believe, he was on a show and he explained where he got that whole gesture. He got it from Tony Yayo. From G Unit, right? So Jalen Rose put out a video pretty much saying to give Tony Yayo his flowers now because ultimately he was the creator of the now infamous "You Can't See Me" taunt. Does it matter? That's my question. I don't think it matters. But I know that me and you see things differently. What do you say about that?
Nah, I would just say quickly, I think it does matter. I think, again, I think you got to give your flowers. You got to give flowers to the hip hop community. Again, the hip hop community and just our culture in general, right? And I'm not speaking necessarily from a complete biased position in that, Black people are the only ones that, we're more creative than any other culture. I mean, other cultures are very creative and they have the ability to certainly, institute different trends and different ideas into the culture. But again, when you talk about sports and particularly with where the bigger sports, where they're dominated by Black athletes, right? Which also is a derivative of the culture of hip hop, right? Because let's just be honest, the NFL and the NBA has been able to take their product to a whole nother stratosphere of marketability because of their hip hop culture. And so I do think there should be something said about, John Cena giving credit, which I applaud him for. I do think, he gives credit that the fact Tony Yayo. In fact, I mean, you could even go back to actually Flavor Flav when he would be, yeah, boy,
right. That's true.
Right. You know what I'm saying? But now he did that probably not in a "you can't see me" way. It didn't have that same intent.
It was probably a reaction to something that was in his system.
Right, probably something that was in his system that made him. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. So you're right.
That was just tremors from something that was
something that was in his bloodstream. The bloodstream move, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
So that's why I personally don't think it is of any importance. And so while we're on Jalen Rose really quick,
Right.
Jalen Rose, we know he did a interview with John Morant once he came back. And prior to that, he was on ESPN, I think NBA Today, and he was saying that he was John Morant. And so I think ESPN looked at it as, okay, he's the perfect person to interview him because of his, street cred and kind of interviewing, because John Moran is, found himself kind of dealing with, guns and alleged gang ties, whatever the case may be. And then,
Right.
of course, playing for Memphis and the team taking on this kind of bad boy persona, that type of thing. But is Jalen Rose the person that should be doing those interviews? Do we think that he's the right person because of, maybe some stuff that he dealt with in college? Because, in college, dealing with issues and then coming to the pros and not having the same issues, not being the face of a league. I think that there are levels to it. And I think Jalen Rose, maybe ESPN didn't have anybody else, and they thought, because he had already said that he was John Morant making some ill-advised decisions, but that was all prior to him being a pro player. So what do you say? Should he be the person? Because, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I do. I think he should be. And when you look at the lineup of personalities that ESPN employs, no one else would have fit the goal of trying to make the interview credible and believable. And so you want to have a former player, you want to have, which they have a lot of, right? Obviously, but you wanted somebody who is a little bit more in touch with the culture. Again, I'm talking from ESPN, and then I'll have to say I do agree with them in the sense where somebody who's a little more in touch with the culture, doing things for the culture with his school and so forth, and then who also has a background and with stuff that's been documented with his poor decision making as a young man in the hood. And again, Jalen speaks about a lot of that in his own commentary and on his own platform, whether it be on ESPN or his own stuff that he does aside from that. And also to note, back in 2011, he actually was arrested, okay, and served jail time for operating a motor vehicle intoxicated in Michigan. So again, right? It didn't resonate the same way as John Morant, who's the face of the league, who obviously has, is being purported to be the next whatever the league is looking for by way of preparing another superstar for the league. I think it was good. I think it was good that he has, because I'm of this persuasion, okay? I don't necessarily believe you have to experience every single iota of what a person has experienced, but I do think you should be familiar with, to some degree, with the environment, different things that would perpetuate a certain kind of behavior, things that would give you some type of insight where it becomes a little more tangible for you to be able to relate to. You and I did from the projects. We came up in Brooklyn. We call ourselves Brooklyn Beards and Balls Sports Show, right? Why do we say Brooklyn? Because we're from Brooklyn, right? And so already it's expected of us to talk like Brooklyn, to have that kind of aura that people from Brooklyn or New York City would carry, right? And so it's expected because we are from that culture. So we can understand people that's either from the projects, good, bad, or indifferent, doesn't matter, whether they're successful or non-successful, or the choices that they make be good or bad. We still understand the climate. We understand, and I mean, obviously it's a lot different from when we lived there some years ago, but at the end of the day, we understand still the climate of the city and the pulse of the city and what will cause. We know people personally who have made decisions that have put them in some precarious situations and consequences that they had to pay for as a result of those choices. So we understand, though you and I didn't make those choices, but we do understand to some degree why these choices were made. And I think there's credibility to that when you look at Jalen Rose interviewing John Morant. Now, the interview was crap. softball
It's
question,
terrible.
right?
Terrible.
Horrible. And he's to us. I mean, look, to his defense, he's not a journalist, right? So he's not Barbara Walters. He doesn't really know how to interview people. It's not like he's interviewing presidents and freaking dictators from countries and stuff. And he doesn't. That's not his field, right? He's not trained in that field. But again, it doesn't matter, right? It's all about basketball, and it's all about.
It does matter, though. That's my point. It does matter. Just because
he needs to have that part.
Yeah. If as you explained perfectly, both of us, were born and raised in the PJs, right? So we're in the projects. We've seen different. We've seen people who have had their parents. We've seen people without parents. We've seen people that were dealing with single parents. We've seen people that were raised with their grandparents. All of that we've seen, right? But I think we ultimately lose it when there has to be a direct correlation in order for me to understand that you're making bad decisions. I think anybody, given Ja Morant's ability, his exposure, his platform, the fact that what he is, his age, he is throwing his life away. It helps that if you've had some experience, but I don't think Jalen Rose was necessarily the only person that could interview because of, when he, was with Michigan and the Fab Five and how iconic that time was, and making some foolish decisions maybe when he was younger. Because I don't think I do think to a degree it's apples and oranges. Jalen Rose had a good career. He had a sizable career, but let's be clear. He was never the face of the league. He was never someone that a team was trying to hand the keys to, or the league was trying to make him the next up and coming. I believe he had a shoe deal, but he didn't have a signature shoe, one of only 23 from Nike to have a signature shoe. Not to mention the fact that Ja Morant replaced Kyrie Irving, another, big time superstar player. So I think that it's not equal weight. I think it's it's more vicariously making decisions or kind of giving suggestions from that standpoint. But I don't think it's apples to apples that we both were under this same type of pressure and this is how we handle it. Because when you talk about the interview, it was a lot of softball pitches. It wasn't anything that was hard hitting. And if you're really, and I know he does a lot of work in the community, this is Jalen Rose, I think he should have been harder on him, since they're using him as the person that is, street cred to street cred and giving it more of a credible interview. Then you should be harder on him, not softer, because you understand the ramifications personally. That's why I don't think he was the ideal person. Because if you're then going to, because of your influence and the things that you've experienced, understand how the gravity of what Ja Morant was doing in that time, then you should have been giving him tough love. But instead, it seemed with a lot of the questions and even his interview, he was giving him a pass. If that's the point, then you get Paul Pierce to interview him. I mean, if you're just going to get people that are just going to say, what you did was wrong, and you're not holding him, because nothing about that interview screamed of accountability. He didn't hold him accountable the way he should, given the fact that he got to interview him because they were deemed to be similar. And from Jalen Rose's words, I was Ja Morant. Everybody wants to embody something so that it validates them and aligns them with something to keep it going. What do you say?
No, I agree with you. With everything you said, I totally agree with you. You're spot on. But I think the point you're making might be directed in the wrong area. Regardless of whoever was going to interview him, right? And then I have a question for you on this. Remember, ESPN and the NBA was going to control the narrative. If you want to talk about accountability, clearly the NBA did not hold him accountable.
Oh, no.
Not at all. Okay, so that starts there, right? You have a partnership with ESPN because you got a major NBA contract with them, right? Television deal. So you already know the NBA wasn't going to hold him accountable. ESPN, who was going to narrate that whole interview and was going to, again, what they probably wanted to convey, somebody who they believe can relate to Ja, and all you really want was a relatability, not accountability. Just somebody that was going to just be able to show that we understand, we get it, but no, it wasn't going to be Jalen's responsibility. Even if Jalen Rose perhaps wanted to, let's just say, for instance, just speculating, he wanted to hold Ja accountable. Maybe he could have had some harder questions for him. In the ESPN, in the NBA, in the team, right? Because a lot of people's involved with that interview. This is the first interview that he's speaking out since all of this has happened, right? So everybody's listening. It has to be very, very scripted. Ja is not really somebody who articulates like that, right? Who really can articulate his feelings. You know, there's a chance he could say something that he might think is okay to say, and it's not. So they have to script all of that. So to Jalen's defense, I don't think that he really had a choice but to give softball questions. And I think everything you said is spot on. No question about it. Spot on. But I think it should be directed more towards ESPN and NBA than Jalen Rose. But I do feel what you're saying and everything that you said. But my question to you is, then who would you have suggested, or even a type of interviewer that should have done that interview with Ja Morant? Who would you recommend? If it was somebody that's going to hold him accountable, since you're looking for accountability.
Well, I don't know. I haven't given it much thought. But it could have been, I mean, any of the personalities, just to ask him questions that speak more to, is he remorseful? Not remorseful, but does he fully understand what he did? Is he sorry? What he's portraying? How does that impact his community? Like, right. They could have been. I don't think they have to cross-examine him or put him under any intense pressure. But I do think the questions that were asked should have been more. Yeah, let's face it. The NBA slapped him on the wrist, right? They didn't give him anything. They let Memphis pretty much control the narrative, right? But at the same time, the NBA could have saved face by asking some hard-hitting questions. I think that would have worked better, because it all came out that as long as what it screamed is, as long as you perform, as long as we see value in you, we're going to make provisions for you.
Correct.
Now, giving him the questions that not only for himself he has to think about after and really reflect on. Listen, Jalen Rose and Ja Morant, in my opinion, what they have in common is both of them played in the NBA. Jalen Rose's issues or relationship with his father, I think up until his father passed away, was non-existent. Right. Ja Morant has had both of his parents. Okay, so I think that I understand why ESPN felt comfortable creating that, like kind of grouping them together as the same person, or making it relatable in Jalen Rose. But Jalen Rose, I don't think it was anything that was prompted by ESPN. But he said, "I'm Ja Morant." In an interview, he just kind of, it seemed sincere. It seemed like it was off the cuff. It didn't seem like it was scripted, that he started that kind of conversation.
But what do you think he was saying when he said, "I'm Ja Morant"? To what extent did you interpret that to mean?
So I think it was based on the fact that he came from the inner city, that he made some ill-advised decisions in his youth. Okay. He had maybe surrounded himself or his circle was not the best circle for him at that time, maybe at his age or at his maturity level. But that can be anybody.
So you don't think that was fair? So that's not. But I'm saying, but is there not any truth in him saying that though? I mean,
oh yeah, so
what do you take exception with then?
I take exception with maybe the fact that his age, right? So those decisions, yeah, DUI, okay. That when
I mean, like I
once
say,
he was a pro player, that's
right,
fine. But I'm
right.
talking about the decisions and the path that Ja Morant seemed to be going on prior to, the IG live. Another thing that Jalen Rose can't really relate to is social media. He's not in a social media age. So there are things that he can relate to, things he can't relate to. My problem is, if you're going to put yourself in that position to ask the questions, then ask the questions. And you're right. He didn't totally create the content that they discussed. I'm sure it was well scripted, but I just think sometimes we didn't, and maybe it's not his choice. We don't have to create that interview. Needed to address what he did that was done in poor, and it was poor decision. I don't think it needed any type of credibility to make it a credible interview. Ja Morant should have shown that he was remorseful or sorry, or
I think he did say that in the interview. He did say that he was, he regretted the choices and understanding the gravity of his choices and
because
better decisions.
And I'll say this: people having Jalen Rose's choices or options and Ja Morant's choices and options are two different things. I think Ja Morant, he went to a private school. I think his having both parents, that cannot be something that is understated. He had both of his parents. They were really involved in his life. He didn't. I mean, did he come from the inner city? I don't think he had a.
I mean, yeah, he came from one of the roughest parts in what do you call it? Where he came from, I can't remember now. Gee, I'm drawing a blank. I forget where he's from. But,
is he from Indiana? I'm not sure.
I have to let me see. Let me tell you right now. Let me see. So he's from. He was born in South Carolina.
Okay.
And and his high school was in Sumter, South Carolina. Yeah, so he came up in South Carolina, and that's where he, and Sumter is, it's predominantly a black city, and
which doesn't mean it's Sumter,
South Carolina.
Sumter. I think my mom is from Sumter, but
Dalzell.
I think so. I'm serious.
It's from a city called Dalzell, right, which is in where he went to school in Sumter.
My mom is from Bamberg. Excuse me, my mom is from Bamberg, South Carolina.
Bamberg,
but okay. Sumter, Bamberg. Listen, I think ultimately that is a far cry from Chicago.
Yeah, but I still think there was things there that, I mean, I get your point, and there are some obviously differences in the upbringing, because as you stated earlier, right, we know people from two-parent homes, single-parent homes, grandparents raising kids, but in the end of the day, I know people who grew up in two parents home and they still made bad decisions. They still,
of course.
And I think that's really what it boils down to, I think, right? Because I think, in my opinion, right, you could have interviewed Ja Morant, and I would think that it would be very, very credible, for you to interview.
They don't know
him.
Me. They would.
No,
I'm saying, yes.
Like yourself, I think you can, in a sense, though you maybe not have gotten into any trouble like Jalen did in college, or made a couple bad decisions as a pro or anything like that. Obviously Ja's transgressions, if you will, were more of an egregious nature, because I think what people are looking at, he had so much more to lose, right? And that's what really highlighted the ill-advised choices he made. But I think when you again look at it, and my point is, if you again come from any level of any inner city, some inner cities are more obviously adverse than others. But what I'm saying is that I still think there's some credibility there. And I think what ESPN and the NBA wanted to do was have somebody sit before Ja that can relate. And I think, but again, you could have gone up in there, right? As let's just say you're an ESPN personality, right?
Making it about me. But okay.
No. What I'm saying is, I think you, because I think where we were kind of differing is maybe if correct me if I'm wrong, again, is the is the relatability part, and even the credibility part, right? You don't think Jalen was fit to be the interviewer, right? Now,
I think it didn't have to. I'm not saying he wasn't fit for it, but I'm saying it didn't have to be him because he
so who
had.
would you have rather seen? Somebody with more cachet in the NBA that played?
No, not necessarily. But he could have sat down with. Listen, I think he could have sat down with Kevin Garnett. I would have appreciated because I think overall the Kevin Garnett approach would have been more stern as to listen. I think it just would have seemed like he would have held him Ja more accountable, and I think Jalen Rose, as he didn't hold him accountable, and maybe that's an ESPN thing, but that's neither here nor there. Listen, if you're going to do it, then do it. If you're not going to do it, then don't do it.
Yeah. Well, again, I don't think he had no choice. He had to follow the script of what ESPN, because again, the NBA didn't give him any punishment, so the ESPN wasn't going to come down on him hard. All they wanted to do was get a little remorse out of Ja and somebody who could sit across them that looks like him. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. And basically have some.
So optics, I think, was they wanted somebody to.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree.
But man, listen. In any case, playoffs is going to be interesting. My team will be off next week. Your team will be playing.
Yeah, we will. Yeah. More pressure.
Shout outs to Infinite Audio for the music. Shout outs to Kingdom Creative for the production. What a fantastic show. We got on a little bit of a tangent with the whole Jalen Rose thing. But I think from a culture standpoint, we do need to discuss these things and what the media tries to feed to us.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that needs to be addressed, and why people are put in certain positions. Why is a person selected? But I think that's it's important.
Yeah, I like that.
But in any case, man, Rod, great show. I appreciate it, man.
Always
once again, everyone, please like, share, subscribe to our Facebook and YouTube page. We do appreciate all the feedback that we're getting, all of the comments, all of the likes, dislikes, things that, we got a lot of interesting comments based on Lamar Jackson, his contract situation. Maybe we'll discuss that on our next show. If he's going to still be a Raven, is he going to take the Le'Veon Bell approach and just sit out? Or is the Ravens going to figure it out and maybe not require 2 first-round picks, take something else? The draft is 3 weeks away. We'll see what happens, man. Yep. In any case, thank you for joining us. Until next time, peace.